And we're back with Red Faction Guerrilla, a game that seems to keep the franchise's trademark environmental destruction intact. And to find out more about what we can blow up and how many ways we can do it, we turn to our live demo. Guys, let's go. Let's see it.
Hey guys, so thanks for joining us. Now this is not on the show floor at E3, so we're getting a special look at this. Let's take a look at the game in action to kick things off. So where are we? What are we seeing right now?
Well, you're in the town of Dust, and what we've done is we set up a mission where the EDF have tried to lull in the miners so that they can ambush them, basically take them out. And so what you're trying to do is to get in there, stop the Earth Defense Force from killing the miners. And so what Clint's doing is he's going to start blowing stuff up along the bridge to try and make it collapse on top of the guys. And so what you're seeing here is our destruction system in action, where you can really destroy anything, and it has, depending on the material and the weight and the thickness, it does X amount of damage.
And everybody knows when you talk about Red Faction, you're talking about destruction. How has the generational bump in processing power really helped you guys to bring this to life in this version of the game?
Well, what it's done is it's allowed us to make the destruction meaningful. It has impact in the world. No longer is it eye candy or a couple special effects that simulate destruction. Everything you destroy in here, it can hurt you, it can impact people around you, that sort of thing.
Cool. So we're seeing a sledgehammer, we're seeing some mines. What other tools do you have to get the job done, to blow stuff up?
Well, what the miners, they gather their equipment, they're basically have modified their equipment so that they can fight back. They're going against a more conventional force, and they just basically can't handle it, straight up fight with those guys.
Right.
And so what they've done is they've modified their tools, the mining tools, to, in this case he had a grinder that shot a blade, a rolling blade that amputates guys, sticks in walls, that sort of thing.
Can we see the amputations really quick?
It's kind of random.
Oh.
Otherwise we'd be doing it all the time.
Just give me one
Just
before
wants
our
to see the
time's
goriest
out.
thing
And
possible.
I'm a happy camper.
Of course. There we go. That
Nice.
was brutal. Awesome. So what's it like to work and bring this franchise up to date? You know, how do you deal with the popularity of the old games and tying it in with the new game?
I think it really came down to what was the original goal that we had with Red Faction as a brand, and that goal was to allow the player to kind of go anywhere. And in Red Faction, you had the geomods, and you could kind of go anywhere.
Right.
At the end of the day, you still had to circle back and go through more of a linear game. And with Red Faction Guerrilla, our goal was to kind of expand on that and really deliver that. And so you can destroy anything and everything. You can interact how and when you want.
How does that affect your level design process? Because, you know, a go-anywhere sandbox game, that sort of means that it's tough to decide where things go, where the goals are. So how are you handling that?
What we did is we have a high-arching story, about 22 missions, and then we just have these points of interest spread throughout the world, and we tried to make it more realistic. In other words, you have checkpoints, and the EDF will send out a convoy to each checkpoint to refuel it, give them more ammo. You can attempt to interdict that convoy or take out the checkpoint. So it's more of trying to make the world living and real, and then just let the player decide when and how he wants to interact with that living world.
Cool. You guys feel like you sort of trailblazed in the go anywhere area, because we see a lot of games now trying to emulate what you guys had as an original idea, which was you don't have a set path. Do you see a lot of people taking Red Faction's original ideas and putting them into their newer games?
I think they've tried to do that, and I think you haven't seen anybody, even in my opinion, beat the geomod.
Right.
But we did, 5-6 years ago, and so I think we've raised that bar yet again, and now it's one of those things where if you've played our game and then you go back to a game that doesn't have, our level of destruction, you're probably going to be feeling a little lacking in that game.
Right.
Just a personal question. What is the biggest thing that you can blow up or destroy in the game? No, I'm serious. Like, what is that one thing that once you get it accomplished and floored, you're just like, yes, like everybody's going to go for it?
Well, I think it's getting in that big walker that we have, which is like a mech thing, and you can just crush through 2-story, 3-story buildings, and you just see that stuff just cascading all around you. And so I would say taking out an EDF strong point would probably be the most satisfying.
Oh, very cool. You just blew the entire bottom of that building off. It's awesome.
Yeah, and the stress system kicks in, and slowly it's going to start falling on its own, because it's all made out of real material, has strengths, and depending on the thickness, it starts to crumble.
You'll be doing a lot of that. Are there a lot of set pieces where you're going to have to use the destruction to topple onto your enemies? so that maybe it's a little bit more dramatic, but you sort of get a feel for what you have to crush to destroy everyone?
Well, that's part of the guerrilla aspect of it. We don't want you going just straight ahead firefight with the EDF because you'll probably lose.
Right.
So we want you to use the destruction to set up ambushes to blockade the convoy route so you can ambush it.
Cool.
Blow down the bridge, that sort of thing.
From a development standpoint, where are you guys at right now? What's the biggest hurdle that you have? What are you facing right now in the studio?
We pretty much have gotten all the content done, and now it's just polishing.
Yeah.
Polishing, making sure everything's fun. Doing a lot of usability testing. We do that on site because we're right next to the University of Illinois, and so just revamping, making sure everything's working the way we want it to at this point.
And you can see a ton of physics in this game. I mean, it looks like all the pieces move individually when you blow something up. Was that a big challenge for blowing up a building to get everything to crumble correctly? Yeah,
when we first started, our artists would build these buildings and they looked great. And as soon as we put them in the game, they would just crumble because they weren't built architecturally sound.
Gotcha.
And so it was really frustrating on one side, and then you're like, okay, we finally did it. Now what do we do, sort of thing, and then we had to go back.
Did you have architects on staff that would help you?
No, it's just this iteration, constantly learning and playing with the strengths and the type of materials.
That's cool to see physics working so well that you have to actually build something structurally sound for it to work in the game.
Yeah, it was fun. It's fun to taunt the artists.
Yeah, it's looking very good right now. Can you take us into the storyline a little bit past the miners, or are you keeping that under wraps right now?
Well, what it is basically as the player, Alec Mason, you get caught up in this guerrilla movement, and soon you're going to be in more of a revolution to take back all of Mars and push off the Earth Defense Force. But we do have a bit of another group that's out there that harkens back to the first Red Faction, and they're definitely a little more disturbing, a little more sci-fi. I don't want to give too much away, but think along the Mad Max type thing.
Right. It's exciting. It's something to look forward to.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
I thought you were going to drive off the bridge there.
I do that all the time.
So we're seeing some vehicles right now. Any vehicle combat, or are you mostly going to do everything out of it?
Yeah, you can jump in vehicles. There'll be EDF have tanks. They have their own vehicles that have turrets on it, so you can get in turret fights. You can jump in a tank itself and then start getting in a tank fight or blowing up buildings with it.
Awesome. So what is your most destructible weapon that you have? Or do we have any sort of rocket launcher?
You do have a rocket launcher, and in fact, he might be able to get to the walker in time. The walker basically is probably the most destructive thing we have in the game, and that's that big, huge mechanical mech that the miners use to basically tear up the ground.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And so once the Earth Defense Force brought in the tanks, they basically countered by getting this bad boy, and just it can throw tanks and, like I said, break down whole walls and
awesome.
stuff.
I definitely like to see the walker in action. So I saw just a second ago you got completely run over there. There's a lot going on outside of what you're doing.
Yeah.
You see fights going on all the time. So another development question. I mean, was it hard to get these people fighting all over this large world that we're driving through so that the action keeps up? I mean, you have two AI systems working there at the same time.
Well, that was our second, after the destruction, the second challenge was AI. How do you make an AI that can detect when the cover's not there, that was just there?
Right.
How does it know that to get to the player, he can create a hole, jump down that hole versus go around, down the stairs and out the front door sort of thing?
Right.
And so we really had to figure out how does a AI navigate a dynamic world that's constantly changing around you.
So you're telling me they're actually going to use the destruction?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they used destruction. We had one case where we came in through the roof and came down through the roof, blew out a hole. After we got the hostage out, blew a hole through the wall and jumped down. And the AI jumped down with us. The EDF came after us and jumped down, chased us through it. So yeah.
Very
Well,
cool.
let's wrap this up with a quick reader question, which you weren't supposed to read earlier, but I saw you as they were typing it into the prompter. So
I'm a veteran. What do you?
All right. So a reader question comes from AF3848, who wants to know, how has the team handled some of the criticisms of the Geomod, and have they changed it up for the next generation platforms?
Yeah, I think what we've done is we delivered on what we tried to deliver on Geomods, where you can really go anywhere and it has meaning. In Geomods, it really didn't have meaning. It was cool that you could tunnel everywhere, but that was kind of it. It was just a neat little candy sort of thing, eye candy type thing. With our destruction system, you use it to successfully complete the game. You use it to tactically get an advantage over a more overpowering force. And so for us, it's all about having the destruction system that is worth it. It does what it needs to do. It's realistic, and like I said, it has meaning to the game, where it's not just eye candy.
Great. Well, good stuff, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Blowing stuff up is always a lot of fun. God knows it's one of my favorite things to do. LiveWire will be back in just a bit.